In Zen and Buddhist teachings, it's said that you don't have to stay in places where you are not appreciated, just like a lotus flower doesn't grow in a dry area. This idea reminds us that holding on to people or situations that don't value us can cause pain. It's important to respect ourselves and recognize that everything in life changes. Have you ever felt ignored by someone, as if you aren't useful to them anymore? It's hurtful to feel unappreciated, but it also teaches us something important. True worth comes from within, not from what others think. This story is about a seeker who learned the importance of self-respect and letting go when dealing with failure. A seeker lived in a peaceful place, full of nature. They dedicated their life to helping others, giving their time, kindness, and wisdom without asking for much back. However, they started to notice something worrying. The people who used to ask for their help now ignored them. Their kindness was no longer appreciated. The seeker felt confused and sad because they didn't feel valued by others. They turned to their teacher for help. The teacher, who was wise in Zen philosophy, asked, "What happens when you pour water into a full cup?" The seeker answered, "It overflows." The teacher then explained, "You're putting your energy and self-worth into a space that can't hold or appreciate it. It's time to take back what makes you who you are and use it carefully, knowing your own value." The master told a story to help the seeker grasp the seriousness of their position. When a beautiful pearl was found, people praised it for its perfection and clarity. As time went on, the object changed owners and its value was forgotten. It was seen as just an ordinary stone, thrown away and overlooked. Did the pearl lose its value, or did people stop seeing its beauty? The seeker understood the lesson. Their worth is not defined by what others think. They saw them based on their true worth. The first step to finding balance again was to stop looking for approval from people who no longer appreciated them. They learned the importance of silence and taking space. The master recommended not to fight, plead, or seek answers when someone doesn't value you. Instead, take a step back quietly. Watch without getting angry and separate yourself without feeling bitter. The approach is to let your actions and body language be more powerful than just being there. To learn this, the seeker decided to distance themselves from those who did not pay attention. They stopped giving unwanted help, stopped starting conversations, and focused on their own growth. At first, people were confused by this change, but soon they realized the value of the seeker. Tasks that were easy for the seeker to handle now became difficult for others. The wisdom and kindness that everyone had taken for granted were missed. This realization wasn't about getting back at anyone. It was about finding balance, as the master taught through absence. We often only understand how much we value something after we lose it. During this quiet time, the seeker focused on building inner power and turned their attention inward by practicing meditation, being aware of your feelings without judging them. The teacher explained the idea of an ATA, or non-self, which says that looking for approval from others causes needless suffering. The seeker learned to stop needing praise and kept saying the words, "I am." I'm enough just because I exist, not because others think so. Slowly, the seeker, who had once felt heavy with rejection, began to feel lighter. They started to recognize their own worth, which didn't depend on what others thought. As time went on, the people who had not appreciated the seeker started to notice they were gone. They began to think about their own actions and realized how much the seeker had added to their lives. Some of them came forward with honest apologies, while others stayed away because of their pride. The master reminded them. The seeker. Not everyone will recognize your value, even if you step back. It's not your responsibility to make them see it. What's important is that you have found your peace and self-respect. For those who have come back honestly, you welcome them with kindness, but also establish boundaries to protect your worth. For those who did not return, you let them go without anger, accepting that change is a part of life. Through this journey, you learned an important lesson, truths of Zen thought impermanence. Just like the seasons change, so do relationships. Holding on to what isn't helping us only makes us suffer longer. The master finished with a story about a tree that provided sweet fruit and shade for people. As time passed, some people became careless, carving their names into its bark and breaking its branches. Despite this, the tree remained strong and continued to offer what it could. When it was time to drop its leaves, it did so gracefully, knowing that new leaves would grow. We should be like the tree. Give your best without expecting anything in return, and when it's time to move on, do so gracefully. The seeker found a new peace that changed how others saw them and transformed their whole life. By concentrating on their growth, they attracted relationships and opportunities that matched who they were. The master often reminded them that what you nurture inside shows on the outside. When you recognize your own value, the world reflects that back to you. The seeker learned that being undervalued was not a curse, but a chance for growth. The teacher showed how people sometimes give up their self-respect to maintain peace. By fixing this, they reached a better state of being where their energy went to those who appreciated it, instead of being wasted on those who didn't. This helped them grow wiser, and others started looking for their advice. They wanted to learn how to feel calm and sure of themselves. The seeker shared their journey, but always emphasized this is not about teaching others to value you. It's about respecting yourself enough to walk away when they don't one day. A student asked, "But what if I love those who undervalue me? What if I cannot bear to let them go?" The seeker said that love shouldn't make you unhappy. Real love, even for others, begins with loving yourself. Loving yourself means not staying in a situation where you feel less important. It doesn't mean you stop caring about others. It means you choose to prioritize your own love for yourself. Keep your distance from them to maintain your peace. The seeker learned that letting go is not just a way to gain approval from others, but a way to find true freedom. When you stop needing validation, you can live honestly. The master illustrated this by saying that if you're holding a lantern in the dark and someone doesn't want your light, you don't put it out. You keep carrying it forward, guiding yourself and others who are ready to follow. Walking with you became a key idea in the seeker's life. They stopped trying to prove their value to others and instead focused on shining their light. They trusted that the right people would find their way to them. This brought a balance of acceptance and setting limits. Through these lessons, the seeker learned to balance compassion and limits. They realized that being kind doesn't mean accepting rudeness, that compassion can exist alongside power, and that forgiveness doesn't have to be given freely. The seeker learned that some people didn't value them before but later wanted to make amends. The seeker chose to forgive but kept strong boundaries. They stopped trying to prove their worth and let their actions show who they were. One evening, the master told the seeker to look at a pond. They saw how a single pebble created ripples that spread across the entire surface. The master compared the seeker's journey to those ripples. The master said that by valuing yourself, you create a positive impact on the world. This influence encourages others to respect themselves too, but it all begins with you. The seeker felt grateful because they began to see their past experiences of rejection not as bad luck, but as opportunities that helped them understand themselves and life better. They lived with quiet confidence, and their transformation was subtle rather than loud. They moved through life with confidence, no longer holding on to people who didn't appreciate them. Instead, they attracted others with their self-assurance. In tough times, they recalled the wise words, "A lotus doesn't seek attention, it blossoms when it's ready." Inspired by this, they lived a life full of self-respect, peace, and authenticity, showing that the best way to deal with those who don't value you is to value yourself.